Last spring, I began converting my front lawn from grass into native prairie plants. If this is something you're considering and you're on the fence about it, I want to share how it went for me. At the end of this video, I'll give you a list of everything I planted, along with the final results of how many bees, butterflies, and other insects appeared in just 15 months. For a few years, I had seen news stories and studies saying insect and songbird populations are declining, with some using alarming language like the insect apocalypse, and that really concerned me. I had heard that planting native plants could help by feeding the insects and providing habitat. I had already turned most of my backyard into vegetable beds and planted fruit trees and shrubs and grapevines. And I basically never set foot on my front lawn except to mow, so it made sense to give it a shot. I had never grown most of these perennial prairie plants, so I wasn't sure how this would go. So instead of doing the entire 2,500 square foot front lawn all at once, I decided to create a single bed of about 400 square feet to test it out. In winter, I pre-ordered about 100 plugs from a local nursery specializing in native plants. I also started some easy-to-start plants like milkweeds from seed under grow lights in my basement. In total, I had about 25 different species and about 120 plants. My goal was not to have a typical looking landscaped area with a plant and then a big area of mulch in between. I wanted this to more closely resemble a real prairie where plants fill the space completely and hold each other up. So when the day arrived, I laid out all the plugs, then planted them and mulched them with a couple inches of straw. I was lucky in that it rained consistently for the first several weeks after planting, so I never even had to water them in. Be aware that these plants will look like they're doing nothing for the first month or two, but I was actually surprised with how much they grew and how big some of them got by the end of the season. Here's how it looked on July 30th. Sorry, my phone camera is a potato. Some of the plants like swamp milkweed were already 2 or 3 feet tall and starting to flower, so things were growing great. And here it is about a month later. This is August 31st. Lots of plants flowering, like this anise hyssop, and they're starting to attract pollinators, which was amazing. Just a few months after planting, I was seeing bumblebees, monarchs, and even black swallowtail caterpillars. Witnessing this first planting taking off and becoming a success really got me excited, so in late summer and fall, I bought even more plugs to fill in the area and increase my number of species, bringing my total planting to around 200 plants in 2024. By the time fall arrived, I was obsessed. This had gone way better than I thought it might, so that's when I began scheming on what I would do in 2025. Okay, so here's the front yard in May 2025. I took way more video along the way this year, so you'll get a better idea of how things grew. I went a little overboard and grew about 450 plugs myself. I may make a video on that later. I also bought plants that were more time-consuming or difficult to grow from several local nurseries. The area I'm planting this year is about 2,000 square feet, so about 4 to 5 times larger than last year. So I needed a lot of plants to plant it as densely as I wanted. I planted most of this area on Memorial Day weekend. I laid them all out one day so I could think about the layout, like where taller versus shorter plants would go and plants that like full sun versus part shade. It took pretty much the entire next day to dig all the holes and plant all the plugs. So after months of daydreaming, planning, and hard work growing all these plants, they were finally settled into their new homes, and I could relax a bit and watch last year's planting really start to take off. By early June, bumblebees arrived. Then other native bees arrived. Then damselflies, fireflies, and much more. The new planting was filling in fast. It rained consistently again, and I got lucky. I barely had to water it. In last year's planting, many of the species started to flower for the first time. And in July, the monarchs started to appear. From this point on, I saw monarchs every single day through the beginning of October, usually several of them flying around at a time. As I had hoped, last year's bed was filling in almost completely. It was starting to look really lush and full, and more pollinators kept arriving. And just look at the insane amount of pollinators this attracted. Any day where it was warm and sunny, there would be hundreds flying at any time. When I first started this project, I never would have imagined how many insects this would attract. It way exceeded my expectations. I thought, there would be a few bees here and there and a few butterflies here and there, but it was non-stop for months. So many insects I've never seen before. Like in June and July, almost every day I would go out there and see an insect I had never seen before in my life. It was so cool. I mean, every day I would go out multiple times a day if I had time and just go and stare at everything that was flying around. And maybe the best part was, I like to go out hiking and go on nature walks, but now without even traveling anywhere, I could just walk out of my front door and see life everywhere. My takeaway from this project is this. Is this worth doing in your yard? Absolutely. Even the smallest little patch of native plants makes a difference. Somehow, these bugs will find your yard. Even in a city lot or in the suburbs surrounded by sprawl, or in the middle of a bunch of cornfields, your yard can be an oasis to insects. I think a lot of ecological problems right now seem really daunting, like it's impossible for one person to do anything meaningful. Many of them are global, and it feels like you need governments or large conservation organizations to solve them. But this is something you can do, and you can make an impact fast, within a few months. And though it may seem small, it makes all the difference for these insects. And the more examples we have of this in yards everywhere, the more people will realize what is possible. Okay, here are the final stats on what all showed up. I saw at least 25 species of native bees, including 6 species of bumblebees. I saw about 30 species of native moths and butterflies. And in total, I saw well over 100 species of insects appear. And here's a list of everything I planted. It ended up being over 70 species, and I've also linked this document in the video description. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you plant native.